One of my favorite books is Inventing the AIDS Virus by Dr. Peter Duesberg. You know, Dr. Peter Duesberg, he was a German scientist, but he teaches at Berkeley University. He's a very well-known microbiologist, credited for different scientific discoveries about retroviruses. As he's written a stunning critique of the official account, which so far hasn't really been cracked or even attempted to be refuted. People just say, oh, it's so outrageous, but if you read like the interviews he's done with the mainstream newspapers like the Daily Mail and different ones, it's really amazing. He really holds his own. His central thesis is that HIV is harmless, but that people are dying from taking these antivirus drugs, which were originally developed as chemotherapy, and that the drugs are what's killing them. And he claims that the minimal scientific requirements, studies for drugs weren't observed, and that it's an iatrogenic illness, that is doctor-created. And it's really interesting, the tale in his book of this American family that adopted a baby from Romania, and the baby was diagnosed with HIV. And she was part of this group of HIV babies. And the parents eventually pulled her out of the group, stopped the treatment, and she lived, whereas every other baby in the group died on these antiviral drugs. And there's a really interesting interview with a Ukrainian doctor in the documentary House of Numbers. It's a documentary about AIDS. It's called House of Numbers, not to be confused with the Netflix Kevin Spacey show House of Cards. But in this interview, and you can actually see the extended interview footage on YouTube that didn't even make it into the movie, but this doctor talks about how he realized that they were killing these patients with these antiviral drugs in the Ukraine. So it was really interesting. Nothing is really as it turns out to be, and it's interesting to me that we're called the conspiracy theorists when it's actually the media that's pushing all these conspiracy theories. Like you take September 11th. The reason to believe it is that's because of what the government says it. But everything about that has shown to be a fairy tale. It's the inside job terrorist attack. There's 3 buildings that collapsed that day with controlled demolition. So as soon as you start looking into these things, it becomes very apparent that the government is not our friend. In fact, the government are liars, and we have no reason to believe them about anything. Once in a while, there's a public outcry or a government investigation, like the Church Committee in the 70s investigating the MK Ultra. Sometimes there's these things that aren't entirely politicized, and then we learn something. But you know, we wanted to do these interviews, but also to show the beauty of the nature and kind of try to get as many people on board as possible.